All right, boys. You know what? This has been bothering me for a while. I think I've done a review on these before. This is the Mechanical Action Series, the M.A.S. Gaiking Trio. Gaiking, Balking, and Ryking. I'm looking online for videos about this guy. I've scoured the internet. I've looked for videos. This thing's a piece of shit. Let me just start right off. This thing is an absolute abomination. They have the Motoroid series, the Good Smile. Those are probably a lot better quality than these. So I've gotten 2 Rykings so far because I was able to get one really cheap. I'm just doing a quick review. I'm not doing anything crazy. I just want you guys to see what's going on here, because if I'm the only video out there, at least I can help someone. Now, the Balking, this is the Balking clamshell. It came out of place, whatever. That little stripe there, if anybody can tell me, there's a little plastic strip. It looks on the back that it might clip. It has a couple clips on it. It looks like it might clip on to hold something together. That came with the Balking. Also with the Balking, those are his weapons. It came with these 2 black plastic pieces, which I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to go over everything as much as I can. I forget what came in that square. Whatever. I have everything laid out here. So those 2 black things are actually just below his knee to give him some height on his boots. So you see where the thighs, the metal, quote-unquote metal thighs end, right below there, that plastic piece clicks in and extends the height a little bit. One other thing is it does come with an extra torso. Okay? Reason why I'm bringing that up is because on the back, this is the only picture. Well, all 3 of them have a picture. They're basically similar. They're just a tiny bit of a different pose. They all have a picture showing Gaiking the Great assembled. So I was sitting here pulling my hair out, trying to figure how to get the forearms down, because the forearms are basically his biceps on this figure, and then they go to his forearms on this. So I didn't realize they had to slide through. It's a whole thing. You got to take off the shoulders. A little bit of a transformation. This is the problem. This guy came with directions for him, and these, as far as I know, they were used. I'm sure they would come with directions. None of them came with directions. Again, Ryking, both of my copies of Ryking came with directions for him only. And it doesn't show much. Whatever, how to put in his scythe. And use the stand is really what it is. And I was scouring the internet. I'm like, I went on the robot group. I didn't have any patience to wait too long. Shout out to the guy who sent me my own video. He didn't know it was me, of course, but shout out, brother. I appreciate it. At least you know I'm out there. I want to compare both of the Gaiking the Greats. The Evolution toy, which I have done a review on. That's basically the only metal in there is the magnets. And this CM's piece of shit Gaiking. I love this CM's Gaiking, other than the fact that it's absolute trash. There's no die cast in it. I don't know what CM's Corp was going for. I think they were trying to do a cheap plastic line. This is the only M.A.S. series that I know that CM's Corp, who has been out of business for years now, has made. And here we go. So here's the Evolution toy Gaiking. He is all magnets. So he comes as regular Gaiking. he has the parts like the head, the extra chest / face piece. He comes with the extra pieces to create Gaiking the Great. So you're technically getting 2 figures out of this guy, which is kind of cool. I'll spin him around. He definitely needs a stand. It was hard to find a stand, but I got these on AliExpress. They're cheap. They're not meant to hold much weight, but this guy doesn't weigh too much, and I have him angled on that leg. So this is perfect. The way the stands are made, the way the figure is, I had to kind of come through the back angle like that. I'm sure there was a different way I could have done it. I've tried a bunch of different ways. You know, usually I'll exhaust every option before I go with what I'm going to keep. Again, not everybody knows everything, so later on if something changes, I'll switch it up. But for now, this is the best option to have him stand, and he's really stable like that. This is the CM's M.A.S. Gaiking the Great. Now that's the King spear, but I had 2 of them, so I'm like, you know what? I'll give this guy a weapon. It was a little beat up, a little weathered. There was a stand in here. I won't get too much into it. I mean, I'm sorry, not a stand. There was a little peg in here, glued into I think one of the sides. I think the head side. And you could pull it out, twist it. It ended up snapping. So I had to drill out a little bit and put a new piece of plastic, glue it in to secure it. And all that for nothing because you see, I mean, I'm not going to get mad. This thing's a piece of shit. I mean, you can't even do anything. The only reason why is there's a Motoroid Gaiking, and that's the only other one. I mean, this is as close as to a Gaiking you're going to get besides the... hold on, let me grab them here. Besides the Evolution toys. Yeah, this is Evolution toys. Shit, man, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, these are the 2 Gaiking the Greats you're going to get unless you want to do a model kit, is what I'm trying to get at. The nice thing about this, if these break on you, the CM's Corp, my buddy, shout out John Olson, he said that you can use the Revoltech to replace some of the joints and things like this. I mean, they just slide out pretty easy. You definitely want to use some Kiki to keep them tight. I don't think I can have them hold the weapon, to be honest with you. It's just, there's no way. I just had this extra weapon floating around because once you disassemble the team, this is what you're left with. You got his bottom piece. He almost looks like Getter 3, huh? You got his bottom piece for the legs. You have, this is the second King, the one I have on display. He rocks with the wings out. Gaiking the Great has them folded in. But anyway, yeah, I have him on a stand because his fucking legs are useless. I mean, they could literally make him like an upper floating torso and it'd be fine. Yeah, those legs are too weak. He definitely has to have a stand. The only one that can stand on his own, and it's almost like the Getter 3 trio, Bulking, because he has so much, he's just like the tree's trunk. He's the big guy of the group. So he doesn't need too much. I mean, plastic's going to break if that's the case. But stability-wise, he's the tightest one. I don't like the regular Gaiking of this figure because it's just so small. He is, here's his torso compared to him. Like, he's just so small. He's like basically a super robot Chogokin. So if you have this CM's Gaiking, he could easily fit with your super robot Chogokin line. If you want a smaller scale. They've never done a super robot Chogokin Gaiking before. I know they have discontinued that line. Yeah, and here's another thing. So these are on little stems that could easily break. And here's where the problem is, guys. If you see this, you go to do it, and because there's little teeth in there, if you can see in between the two little clicky joints, that hole will just explode open if you put too much pressure on it trying to, you know, bend the elbows. Your best bet to bend anything is to take this off, and sometimes if they're too hard, to use little needle nose pliers and very gently grab it and click it. Very gently, because the pressure from the needle nose pliers could also possibly crush the plastic. So here, and I almost didn't assemble this guy just because of the fact that I'm going to do some kiki while I got the camera on. I don't care. I thought this Gaiking the Great was going to be a lot smaller. Whoops. Son of a bitch. So look, I'll show you some of the secrets, boys. You want to rub that kiki right around there. And be careful, because it's like a... It is like a glue to a certain extent. So you want to make sure you don't put too much. You get it on there. I get it on there, then I'll take it back off real quick. Put it back onto, you know, spread it around. Work it a little bit. And here we go. And what I'm also going to do is... See, these were one of the joints that blew out on me. See these things, man. Bicep swivel. This, see the bicep swivel, of course, it's too tight on this. And you don't want anything to be tight, because if the shit starts breaking, you're done. Alright. You got to know when to tighten it and when to loosen it, boys. So put a little kiki on there. We'll get this. Boom. We'll get it nice on there. We'll let it dry a little bit. Whoops. Well. See, you don't want to any elbow or anything. You want to take your hand and gingerly do it. Because it will break. Even if you don't think it won't, it will. I mean, you need a couple. Like, realistically, you need a couple. Probably at least one or two extra ones of these. Because if something breaks, they all pretty much use the same joints. So they're interchangeable in that aspect, which is really cool. You want to make sure you have them positioned before you... Well, more or less posed before you put them... Yeah, this is just... See, even this light scythe, it's just too heavy. Yeah, I know it's cracked a little. There's nothing I can do. Hey, you know what? I have a spare, so I'm good. Here's another little discovery I'll show you, boys. Alright, check this out. The hands. I don't know, some robots, like the future, they do this. Okay? I don't know if it's supposed to or if it's a manufacturing small defect, but the knuckles come out, and that would be cool if it was actually longer and gave you the option to just take this fist off. Take the fingers off, so when you go to pose it, when you go to pose the weapon inside of its hand, you're not scratching the paint. So, unfortunately, I don't think that's the case on this one. I think the glue just came undone. Yeah, he does look pretty badass, though. I mean, looking at him from this angle, man, he looks cool. It just sucks that it's such shitty quality. And I don't think the Motoroid has, or Motoroid, whatever, the Good Smile model kit has that kind of stamped or casted metal look. I'm glad they put it on the legs too. Yeah, so they do have a more silver chrome finish version of this guy, which I obviously don't have. I got the regular, which is fine. The chrome is nice though. But here's your two Gaikings the Greats. I'm going to put the other one. This is the King stand. It's not clear. I don't have a stand on me now, so I'm just going to use this to try to get it hooked up. Also, I just hate, you know what? I just hate moving this thing. Every time it seems like something's just going to fall off. So it says this is supposed to go in here. It looks way too big. I tried on my other copy, same size. So let me see if I can pull this part out or something. I mean, just to give you an idea, here's the... Okay, you can see the glue just came off. I know it's not a huge deal, but it does help it stabilize. So I'm just going to glue that back. Oh, man. This video has been taking forever, boys. Every time I turn around, there's another, you know, every time I pick it up, there's a piece that falls off. So basically, listen, in conclusion, it would have been better. I thought, honestly, when I couldn't get the arms, figure out how the arms worked, I thought you were going to take the thighs off the Gaiking and use them as the arms. That would have been kind of cool, because it is kind of a smaller figure. I thought that was what it was. But I'm like so tempted just to fucking glue this thing together. I'm not even kidding. But I'm not gonna, because if I want to do all that, I'll just get the model kit. But I like this version because it's an actual figure, not a model kit. I just been putting some Kiki on, letting it dry up a little bit. And, I mean, I had to glue that together. I have different joints and pieces. Again, if I need, like, a backup, I can just take it off of one of the other figures. So this is that. Gaiking the Great. CM's Corp. I mean, fucking paint chipping, rubbing, whatever. I need to get this guy on a stand, because he can't stand on his own. If you can't stand for something, then you stand for nothing. Alright, guys. Hey, I just wanted to, you know, throw that in. I took apart Ball King. I had an extra King. I mean, the little Gaiking, here's the pieces. I mean, he's so small. He doesn't fit in. He could possibly, I had him displayed with some of the Super Robot Chigokins I have. Size-wise, he does work, but aesthetic-wise, he doesn't, because of this stamped metal, which I love. That stamped casted metal that he has just makes him look a lot different than the Super Robot Chigokin line. Pretty easy to fix. If you see the Gundam stands, I'll give you one thing before I let you go here. The Gundam stands have these little rods sometimes, the display stands. They're longer. So if you see like an explosion effect on, let's say, a Dragon Ball Z figure or a Gundam figure, where, you know, the wires are coming out, the little plastic pieces are holding up the pieces of brick to make it look like an explosion, I guess you could say. Those little pieces fit perfectly. They make these up. They're the same size as these nubs and holes. So if you need, I'm sorry about the camera. I get the backgrounds maybe messing it up. So if you have any of those like clear Gundam stands, those will work to replace some of the pieces, hinges or whatnot. And inside, I had to take that ball stand and just, all I did was rub it. Kept rubbing it around until it wore the plastic and made it fit. Because it's just too small. The QC on this thing sucks. I'm always curious and kind of in the back of my mind when people, for the most part, when people say, oh, this figure sucks, or you can't do this, or if you touch it, it breaks. I'm always kind of like, whatever. How bad can it really be? I'll give you an example, is that Voltron Gladiator Albagus, the original one, the blue plastic, I guess it just crumbles. I forget what it's called. I've actually seen a transformer, a video of a kid with a gold transformer just take it and just crush it in his hand because the plastic was so brittle. I think the plastic is, the joints especially, is just not, this thing will disintegrate and become nothing one day, sooner than later. My buddy I was speaking with on Facebook said he could make some silicone replacement parts, which would be cool. So I'm not giving up hope on this figure. It is a piece of shit. And getting back to my point, when people say, oh, you know, this figure's crappy, it falls apart, and I'm always kind of like, whatever, let me give it a whirl. I'm telling you guys. I'm telling you. This thing seems like it was put together by an amateur who had their first go at doing figures. And on top of that, making it a combiner, which is even worse when it comes to a noob or quality control issue on figures. Because if you have one quality control issue, especially if you're going to transform it, you're going to have a lot. It's going to affect this piece. Like, this doesn't fit here because, and it's just, they all have quality control issues. So it's not just one. It's just they all, the plastic breaks easily. The pieces fall off easily. I mean, things just move easily. If you're just going to sit here and look at this figure, then hell yeah. If you, I mean, you see, dude, the fucking knee. It's this knee part inside, and I even made it, you know? I pushed it on. I didn't even mess around. I'm like, you know, I'm just going to make it so it fits. So anyway, don't get this figure. If you see it, I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm going to buy one more Ball King so I can have at least Ball King and Rye King represented from this line. They're the only two I'm going to have. I don't collect or really do models. So if it wasn't for these figures, I'd get the models. But again, they're just sitting there. These aren't really, hey, posable, pose around and take pictures. Hopefully, Mo Show or somebody comes out with, you know, more to show this guy love. I mean, fucking under the pad. I mean, this is click. I'm like, why is this loose? Oh, that's cool. And I look underneath and half a little piece is cracked off. That's why it just moves like it does. I'm like, it wasn't like that earlier. And this fucking thing keeps going up. That's pissing me off. I want to glue it right to his nuts. This fucking thing. Plus, there's no directions. So anyway, this guy will be on a stand. I have two Gaikings the Great, at least, you know, to compare. There's no other Gaiking the Great around unless you're going to get the Motoroid model kit and put that together, which I'm not into. I already had to, see that? That black stem? That was, I already had to replace the head. And then you really can't do anything because the back of his helmet, well, his head doesn't just, His head doesn't move back is what it is. Alright, there it is. But then, it's not anything... It's not anything... Oh my god. Well, you know what? If I don't get this guy on a fucking stand in 3 seconds, I'm going to throw him in the trash. So, I hope you guys like the review. See, he stands one position on his own. I think he does look a little cooler than the other Gaiking, though, than the magnetic one here. He does look a little cooler. He looks like he's a little more ready.